49ers Daily Fantasy Team Preview. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Russell Clay. We saved the 49ers for last, and not necessarily for a good reason. So here we go.
Well, we actually threw them out last week, and the trash man came and got them, and then we're like, oh shoot, we got to go to the dump and get them back because they belong in the trash can. That's what this team. It was
one of those situations where you tossed them out, but it's like, how the hell did they make it back inside the house? It's one of those movie things where, like,
the dump didn't want them either, so they brought them back and left them on the doorstep. Yeah.
So here we go. I mean, one of the worst offenses in the league last year. Their defense wasn't that bad, but still not where they were in the past. Obviously, kind of an unfortunate turn of events on the defensive side, losing some guys, and obviously guys retiring early, all that stuff. But back to the offense here, a quarterback situation where it's Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick kind of with the thing up for grabs. And I feel like I don't want either under center.
No, you absolutely do not. And either one, I mean, in terms of being down by a lot of points, whoever's playing quarterback in those big blowouts is going to get some fantasy points. So there's always going to be that factor, but this offense is bad. And I get Chip Kelly is going to make things up tempo, but Chip Kelly had a lot of really strong weapons in Philadelphia. I mean, the first few years when his teams were really good, he had LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, who all went on to have success with other teams after the Eagles just inconspicuously just released them and got a bunch of mediocre players other than Jordan Matthews. So this sort of seems like Chip Kelly's like, he loves this. He doesnent care about what players he has. He just wants to run his system. And you know what? He's going to get it, and he's going to get a rude awakening when Bruce Ellington's his number one receiver in Week 5, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much you sum it up with his name, and probably people are Googling him right now going, who is Bruce Ellington? But he's a guy, I mean, him, Torrey Smith, I mean, basically the two wide receiver options. And as you mentioned, there might be some garbage time fun with this team. There might not be. They might even be that bad where they don't even give us that. There certainly is that potential. So, as you mentioned, I mean, Torrey Smith is a guy you look at. I know you've been tossing out some stats for him over the last stretch of days. I mean, does he have any sort of purpose on a week-to-week basis?
Oh, Torrey Smith is good. Torrey Smith is a really good NFL receiver. I was kind of just joking. I was being a little hyperbolic with Bruce Ellington there. I actually like Bruce Ellington. 4th-round pick a few years ago, played basketball in college, so get ready for John Gruden to point that out if the 49ers ever play a primetime game. But, I mean, just overall, Torrey Smith is a guy, he needs someone with a big arm to just throw it deep, and he's going to go outrun everyone and out-athletic everyone and make a big play. I mean, that's Torrey Smith's game, and he's really good at that. But in this offense, I just don't know how that's going to happen. Could he take some slants and break a tackle and take it deep? Yes. But you don't want him to be a possession receiver. You want him to be that electric deep threat. So I don't know how much upside he really has in this offense. I could see him getting 700 or 800 yards this year. But on a week-to-week basis, it's going to be tough. Always see him as a tournament guy. I mean, he even hit a few times last year in tournaments, even when he got 62 total targets in the season. So, yeah, I mean, but other than that, it's all a guessing game.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously the loss of Anquan Bolden is going to bump everyone up a notch. You look at Bolden, 113 targets last year. That's gone away. Both him and Smith had 8 touchdowns. Bolden obviously off in Detroit. You know, you look at Bruce Ellington, it's one of those things where, sure, you maybe keep him on the radar, but there's something that's like, oh, well, there might not even be enough to go around because the fantasy points are just going to be so limited.
Right. I guess it's kind of like the same way I view Jamison Crowder, where I like Jamison Crowder's game, but it's not necessarily the most fantasy relevant. And while I think he's got a spot in the NFL, I'm not sure where Ellington sort of fits in the fantasy realm, especially in a below average offense.
Yeah, definitely. And jumping back to the quarterback situation, I mean, probably my favorite to emerge, just because it's more of a Chip Kelly style, is Colin Kaepernick.
I mean, you'd hope so.
for the sake of the offense, I do think it is Kaepernick, because it is going to be funny to see people kind of piss and moan on Twitter about Kaepernick and him being an option, because it's just always fun to get people riled up when Kaepernick comes into play.
Colin Kaepernick was incredible for a 18-game stretch. He was, I mean, if we remember back to when it was RG3's rookie year, we thought running quarterbacks were the new thing. Or, I mean, I don't know if everybody did, but I mean, Colin Kaepernick, RG3, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's the only one standing. So, I mean, Colin Kaepernick has been a dominant quarterback in the league before. It's just, can Chip Kelly sort of harness that like Jim Harbaugh? Oh, I got it right this time. See that?
Yeah,
a little stutter between John and Jim, but I got it.
Well done.
It's just it's tough to see anyone in that passing game being consistent with Kaepernick at quarterback is a problem.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as far as, you know, jumping into anyone else, Vance McDonald, starting tight end, I don't think he's even going to be a viable option, just given the fact that we've been pretty much saying that these wide receivers barely have any potential here. Why would a tight end?
Absolutely.
So, as far as the running backs go, obviously Carlos Hyde was a guy who only played half the season last year, which is a little bit of a bummer. Obviously, he had that strong week early on against the Vikings, but outside of that, it was a pretty limited effort out of him, which was more to say because of the offense that he's in. Do I think he could thrive in a better offense? Sure. It's just more the situation that he's in. It's unlucky.
Right. So I like Hyde as a talent on his own. In this type of situation, I do think he could get 1,200 rushing yards throughout the season. But in terms of game flow, him not really being prominent in the receiving game, going to be tough for him to string together any cash game viable weeks.
Yeah, certainly will. And going with their strength of schedule, I mean, they draw one of the toughest schedules in the league, which is kind of unfortunate. They're already the worst team. So here, let's give you a tough schedule on top of it, also playing in the NFC West. So I think it's going to be a pretty easy fade most weeks. I mean, they also play Carolina, Buffalo, some other defenses. It's just kind of a stay away situation here.
Yeah, big time.
As far as their defense goes, I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things where probably game flow is going to dictate a lot of it, where there's going to be a lot of big spreads where you can see running backs just kind of running out and getting kind of high volume in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen it with Chip Kelly offenses, though, that like they push the pace so fast. Sometimes it pushes the other offense into like bad decisions, especially with the defense. So, I mean, there might be some games like that, but overall, yeah, it's mediocre at best.
Yeah, this was a painful one to get through for sure. That's going to wrap up our 49ers Daily Fantasy Team Preview. Be sure to check out the rest of our teams at dailyfantasycafe.com.